I have these 6-pin front panel connectors for CP16R kits. So this is the unfinished panel. I have the final ones there, but I don't want to scratch them, so I have this as reference. We have the pin nut here, and this tasty connector connects to the mainboard. Here, like it goes there. There's the receptacle. This, and then the connector goes there, and then this. On purpose, I first made these cables, then I cut them from here because I'm making soldering connections and dividing the 6 control wires, the back panel, and this goes to the front panel connector, the 6-pin connector. 3 of the wires go to the back panel, and then there's the 2 front switches on standard configuration. So the engine switch and the start switch. So I'm taking those connections from here. So I cut this and soldering the wires and connecting this again later. So I have this. I have lots of other cables made for the camera. So this is the final one, and these are crimp connectors. So do I have the yes? So this body of the connector is sold separately, and the actual connecting pins look like this when bought from the store. And one cuts this. This is not part of the connector, the sides. So the connector is cut from here and from there very precisely. With quality cutters, cutting there, and then one has that connection, and one use crimping pliers like these. These are very basic ones, but they do work. So crimping connectors, then taking one of these connectors out, cutting it out from that, and then putting it to the this, and this have locking mechanism, so it doesn't come open. You can close it, but it doesn't come open until fully pressed down, and then it opens. You can of course release the locking from here, but one uses these. So taking the connectors out of this roll, these are, if you buy more of them, they just send you the roll with lots of these. I think I do have those here. Let's see. So this kind of roll, and there's tons of those connectors there, and then taking the necessary amount out and cutting them off from this. This is meant for machines to take them from here, but because I'm doing this manually, I need to cut them out individually and then putting them one at a time to here and pressing enough so that it holds it, but it doesn't crimp it yet, and then putting the wire end there, and then crimping it and releasing, and then having the proper connection. Maybe I could show you. Maybe, let's see, I have some wire here? I do have some wire, but do I have some wire which I can use for this? can, for example, use this. Where is it? So this wire, and then cut it. So what I'm basically showing why this takes so long to do this. Then I'm cutting out this film this, so I cut one of these out. Then I need both hands, putting it to the wires like that, and you can see it holds it, but it doesn't crimp it. And I'm putting the wire there. Wire end goes there. Then I need both hands again. Now I have the wire end there. Pressing and releasing. Then getting it out and check. So you can see the crimping. Let's see if this focuses correctly. So you can see the crimping, and you can see I have done this a lot already. So you can see the left side of there's two crimping surfaces. It's bent when pressed with the pliers. So one of them is attached to the wire insulation, and another one is attached to the copper wires. So that's basically how to do it. And then if it bends a little, then I'm straightening it, and if it gets too flat from here, I will use some normal pliers to just make it just a tiny bit rounder from here where it attaches to the insulation. And then it fits to the slot here. Focusing is difficult for this cell phone. So it's 6 wires per connector, and I have 6 of these connectors, so 36 pieces of those. And if some connection doesn't work out the first time, this cannot be repaired. I need to cut it out and make another one. So if at first one tends to ruin a lot of this, and then when learning it, then it's rare to ruin them. But this cannot be repaired if it fails the first time. You have one chance, and if it doesn't work, then you have to cut this out entirely from here and try again with completely new one. So you have to have extra ones. Not necessarily very many, but you do need to have extra ones. And if you haven't done this a lot, then it might be frustrating. So when making the other end of the cable, do I have a sample here? I did have, but where is it? It's there. So the other end is, I need 3 hands with this. So this is the other end, and it has similar style pins, but these are male pins. And this is a bit more frustrating to make than the body side connection. So if, for example, making a cable for external footage counter like this, then I recommend only attaching the wires you actually need. This actually needs more operating voltage than this connector can supply, so it's not the best counter for the CP16R, but I have other counters which do work with the 4.6 volts. So with counter you need 3 or 4 wires, so you don't necessarily need to make all the 6 pins only 4 is needed, and if needing start-stop switch, then you only need 2 pins, and if needing start-stop and inching, then needing 3 pins. So that makes it a lot more easier when you don't have to attach all the 6 pins all the time, if you don't actually need all of them at once. You can make different cable for start-stop with 2 or 3 wires, and then some footage counter or blooper light cable with 2 pins and so on, or 3 pins, depends on if you need to extra power or not. But that's basically how you do it. So, and it can maybe be crimped without this, but it's super difficult to make right. So you basically need some basic pliers like this. These are cheap ones, or you can buy better ones, or you can try to make the crimping with regular pliers, but I don't think it might not be the best idea. But if you don't have possibility to buy these special pliers, then you might need to do it with regular ones, but just buy tons of extra connectors then, because you will definitely ruin at least 10 or something. Let's see, where did I put the sample? It's here somewhere. I have so much stuff. So this is actually, it looks simple, but it's not. So the special pliers are needed because you can, when this focuses, so you can see the crimping surfaces are first bent inwards but then downwards, so they are like, do I have some paper? So the cross section is not like this. The cross section is more like this. It's more like this. So you can make this one with regular pliers, or get them like this, or directly in contact with each other, but this is quite a bit more difficult to make with regular pliers. I think you will really need these if you want to make this right. But it might work with regular pliers without too much issue, at least if you don't attach all the pins. If you need like 2 or 3 wires, then you can try with the regular pliers. I don't know. It's much easier with the proper tools, but maybe you can do it with regular pliers. If not needing the 6 pins, if you need all the 6 pins on the cable side connector, then you basically need those special pliers, because you will have so much issues with the crimping. So when made some test pieces, then you can make it with these on the first try. But with normal pliers, it's pretty impossible to make on the first try. So if you are attaching the male side connector to the cable with all the 6 pins connected, then it's pretty, yeah. So I think it's pretty impossible to get all of them right on the first try without having these special pliers. If trying with regular pliers, then there are 6 chances to get. Well, you have to get 6 connectors right on the first try. I don't think you can do that with regular pliers. If assembling the cable from separate wires, then you can of course try, and if it doesn't work out, then change the individual wires. But if they are in the same cable, then you can do that. So maybe if making stop cables by yourself, then with regular pliers, then assembling them like this, so taking individual wires and attaching the connectors there so that you can replace them easily if it didn't work out on the first try. But yes, so when these are not the only connectors, so on the CP16R, so there's lots more crimped connectors there. So there's like 120, 150 connections I needed to crimp correctly when making 6 of these kits. So that's these have similar style crimped connections too. So there's 6 and there's 6. So it's already 72 crimpings when making these alone, and there's other cables too. So that's why it takes quite long, and that's why I need to have these special pliers, because I don't want to do multiple tries on them, because it just takes the whole day. It just takes half a day making them correctly. And of course, because you can see these wires are pretty close to each other, then there might be some tiny copper threads which are coming out from the connection and might short circuit the wires to each other on here where they come out. So I need to check this very carefully, and then I think I will actually add a drop of silicone in the center, and then attach the wires there, and then maybe some heat shrink wrapping over it. Let's see. So it might be a bit tricky to make this. It looks really simple, but it's not, if you want to make it right. And when taking the insulation out of the wire to make the connection, then it's really precise how much you take of it, because you remember that this crimps to the insulation layer, this crimps to the copper, and then there's just a tiny bit of free space if it's too long or too short, but not much. So it has to be like half a millimeter accuracy if wanting to make it right. It probably works if done wrong, but it's not working as nicely. So you have to be really careful when taking the insulation off from the end to make the length exactly correct for the crimping process. But the good thing with the crimped connections is that these last a bit better when stressed mechanically, especially on the cable side. So on the camera side, this is mostly stationary though, so I could use soldered connections here. But on the cable side, it's better to use crimped, because it's not as, let's say, fragile as soldered connections, because solder makes the wire itself a bit fragile. It makes it kind of too stiff and brittle. And crimping crimp connection maintains the original elasticity of the copper wire. So that's why, and when you are used to doing this is quicker to attach than soldering. Quite often, solder connection on the body side might be a tiny bit more durable, but on the cable side, crimped is better often. So pros and cons, but these are crimped. Now I'm just checking that there's nothing which can short circuit anything, and then protecting these and installing them to the final panels. So the ones with lacquer finish and everything. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then after that, making the interconnections here to run separate parts to the back panel and to the front switches, and then connecting these to the 6-pin connector as well. So that's what I'm doing right now. And after that, the installation kits are pretty much ready for shipping. I'm just checking that the boards turn on properly, and then shipping them. And of course I have the heat shrink tubing here, which isn't treated yet, so I just put it here to wait for the connection to be finished, and then it's the last step to make it complete. So now continuing with checking these.